And so, the first thing that the angel confronts in this world at the age of 4 or 5, when they begin to learn how to speak untruths, they know the difference between true and falsehood. When that comprehension of understanding the difference between what's true and what's not, and there's a polarity between what's true and what's not. When polarity takes root in the child's mind, the child then understands shame. This child then understands prejudice. The child then can act with bigotry. And the child will then torture themselves in shame because they feel they're supposed to be more than that. And they'll compensate for that shame by acting out on others. For it seems so much easier to the linear mind. Why build a faster car? If I'm competing, I could just shoot out the car next to me, shoot out the tires, and I will win the race de facto. But it is all linear, for when one is in eternity, one realizes that there's no such thing as competition. And that even falsehood is a step on the pathway to what is. And there is no judgment. There is only within and without. There is only walking away and the passionate re-embrace. And so an individual's higher self cannot communicate with them to the degree that they are in shame, for the degree that they do not recognize their glory and their majesty is the degree that they are in oppression, and they are oppressing themselves. And if they are oppressing themselves, they are joining with baser frequency energies and resonances, and they're not joining with their higher self collective to co-create. That space is reserved for other energies. And when one is in alignment with oneness, and interdimensionally, if time would stop at that moment, then you'd progress from that space for all source and all time. Your higher self collective exists. Because from that moment, see, beyond the veil, there's no past, present, and future. There just is. So if you're out of balance, your higher self does not exist. Because you don't exist in eternity. Because you're out of balance. Because you're not drawing from eternity. So you de facto, retroactively, destroy the resonance of your higher self collective. And when you're in a state of oneness, you say, I hear God. Now, who is God? Angel. Who is a piece of God? And when you're in a state of oneness, your higher self collective exists for all eternity and is able to actualize for all eternity, for you are aligned in the streams of eternity, and all is concentrating through the pathways of eternal actualization. And you can draw from the future or from the past. It doesn't matter. It's all one. You can draw those resonances. They're all available to you, those pools of energy. And so the only way the angel is exiled from those that know them so intimately and love them without prejudice is through shame. When the angel decides to shut the shade and judge themselves harshly, learning the duality laden minutia and buying into the control facades of this dimension. For the only true control there is one's ability to love. No one can take that away from you. No matter what you go through, your love is yours if you choose to exert it, that light. Everything else is a facade. Everything else can be stripped away, and it's not real. It's all created based on the perceptions of the collective, and it materializes as such. So if you have a stock exchange and everything on paper looks right, it doesn't matter. If investor confidence is weak, if the perception is such in the linearity that people don't have confidence, then you have a really declining economy, no matter what it says on paper, because it's all based on what people perceive. And then it's the same thing with your security. You are safer now than you were pre-9/11. Does that make you feel any safer? No, because the world resonates fear and oppression. Now we know they're coming after us. Before we didn't know. Now we have security, and before we didn't have security. But you felt more safe then, because the collective felt secure and was resonating security. And now they're resonating fear. And it has nothing to do with the actual what is on the ground. It's got nothing to do with that. It has to do with what the angels collectively choose to resonate and manifest in their realm, in their circle. There is no control. Control is a facade. Every single one of them. Individuals are in a fancy version of feudal times. The world is dark and scary. We don't know what to do. We'll give you our freedom and our work and everything we are and our resonance if you provide us with conditions that we can control and security. And it's time to break free from the fiefdom of lordships. And the world is quaking, birth pangs, to allow individuals to awaken, to realize the magnificence of their own ability to manifest eternity along the earthly realm, and to get out of this futility of these facade controls. And you needn't go through the birth pangs of these facade controls if you merely embrace in a space of majesty of all that is and choose. You don't need to go through this education of without. Many light workers have gone through these lessons earlier than the general population. And they think that they're oppressed. And they think money is a bad thing. And they think that they belong on another dimension. They have to escape. They don't belong here. And it's a joke. It's terrible. It's the worst thing to teach them. They came here to impart a frequency. They're graduating it from without faster than the rest, so they can teach the coordinates when they finally arrive at within. Not to sit and disperse venom for society or for the way it is, or this one's fault or that one's fault. No, it's all our faults. It's no one's fault. It's the same thing. All our faults are no one's fault. It's the same thing. But it's not any individual's fault. It's a collective resonance. If you choose not to actualize through true love, unconditional love, and you're still living in polarities, you're still manifesting the criticisms along this tier and detaching it from eternity behind the veil to make heaven on earth in this space. You are no better. You should not castigate. You should not be throwing stones in a glass house. And the moment you graduate from want and need, and you graduate from the prejudice and the bias, and you enter into the majesty of the is, then you don't need these lessons anymore, and abundance shall flow, and security shall flow. And all that you deeply desire, not desire, but choose and wish, that's concordant with your song, shall manifest before your eyes brick by brick. And this is the pathway into restoring heaven on earth. Manifesting in your time. You are privileged. You were chosen to be here in this time, and it is no accident.